Maya called while I was in the parking lot outside Target, trying to remember where I'd left my reading glasses. I had already checked my purse twice. "Hey," she said. "This is gonna sound weird." I found the glasses sitting on top of my head and almost hung up out of embarrassment before she kept talking. Connor said Ethan's second location finally got funded. I shut the car door again, even though I hadn't gotten out yet. "What second location?" There was a pause. Not a dramatic one, more the kind people make when they realize they may have walked into something private by accident. "I thought you knew," she said carefully. The AC hummed between us. "He told people family stepped in." I stared through the windshield at a woman wrestling a toddler into a shopping cart. "What exactly did he say?" "That you and Daniel were helping cover the gap until the investors cleared?" I actually laughed a little. Not because it was funny, my body just didn't know what else to do with it. "Maya," I said, "I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about." This time she went quiet for real. "Oh," she said softly. Then, almost immediately, she tried to repair it. "I mean, maybe Connor misunderstood. You know how people talk." But her voice had already changed. People only start sounding gentle when they realize something underneath the conversation is wrong. I drove home without buying anything. Halfway there, I realized I still had the reusable bags in the trunk from last week. The house looked normal when I pulled in. Sprinklers ticking, somebody mowing 2 houses down, Daniel's truck in the driveway. Inside, I could hear the TV, but nobody was watching it. Ethan was at the kitchen island scrolling through his phone with one leg bouncing under the stool. Daniel stood near the sink, eating almonds from a bowl like he was trying not to snack. Neither of them looked guilty. That almost made it worse. Ethan glanced up first. "Hey!" I set my purse down slowly because suddenly I was aware my hands were shaking a little. "How much money have you told people I'm giving you?" Daniel stopped chewing. Ethan blinked once. "What?" "I'd start with a number." Nobody answered. The refrigerator hummed loudly for a second. Daniel wiped his hands on a dish towel, even though they weren't wet. "It's not finalized," he said. I looked at him. That wasn't my question. Ethan sat back a little, not defensive yet, annoyed. "Connor's girlfriend talks too much." "That's what you got from this?" He looked at Daniel briefly, like maybe they'd discussed this possibility already. "We thought—" "No," I said. "You thought." Daniel stepped in fast. Too fast. "Everybody's under pressure right now." There it was. That tone people use when they want the emotional temperature lowered before anyone has actually admitted to anything. I pulled out a chair and sat down because suddenly my knees felt strange. "What exactly did you tell the bank?" Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "It's complicated." "No, it isn't." His jaw tightened. "We said there was family support." "What does that mean?" "It means temporary backing." "From who?" He looked at me, then away. I waited. Finally, he said, "Quieter now." "You?" Something in me went cold at that exact moment. Not explosive, just cold. Daniel started talking again immediately after, words crowding over each other. Nothing was signed. Nobody forged anything. It was more like, "Daniel." He stopped. I looked at Ethan. "Did you actually think I wouldn't hear about this?" His expression changed then. Small, but noticeable. Like irritation had slipped ahead of caution. "We were going to talk to you." When? No answer. I looked around the kitchen. There was a pan soaking in the sink from breakfast, coffee grounds beside the machine, one of Ethan's protein shakes sitting half-finished near the stove. And suddenly, I remembered something stupid. 3 weeks earlier, Ethan had asked if I still kept most of my retirement accounts with Fairview. At the time, I'd barely looked up from my crossword. Some of them. He nodded, like that confirmed something for him. You always seemed good with money. It had sounded complimentary then. Now it sounded like reconnaissance. I need everybody to calm down, Daniel said. Nobody acknowledged him. Ethan leaned forward finally. Look, the investors got delayed. What investors? The private group. What private group? His face tightened again. You don't know them. That's becoming very obvious. He exhaled hard through his nose and checked his phone mid-conversation. Actually checked it. That tiny movement did more to me than the money part. Not because it was rude. Because it told me he still thought this situation was manageable. Still salvageable. Still something he could talk his way around if everybody stayed reasonable. How much? I asked again. This time Daniel answered, about 200. I looked at him, then at Ethan, then back at Daniel because somehow hearing the number from my husband felt worse. When exactly was somebody planning to include me in this? Daniel pulled the towel through his hands again. We didn't want to stress you. I almost smiled. That sentence. Men over 50 use it constantly when they mean, we wanted time before you reacted. Ethan stood up abruptly and walked to the fridge. Not because he needed anything, because people move when they feel cornered. He opened it, closed it, opened it again. We're trying to fix it. We? My partners. You told your partners I was covering this? No, not exactly. What exactly, then? He grabbed a water bottle and twisted the cap too hard. That family money was available if needed. I stared at him. You said that out loud? He finally snapped a little then. What was I supposed to say? There it was. Not apology, not embarrassment. Panic. Daniel jumped in again before I could answer. The bank was pushing for reassurance. The bank? I said. Or Ethan. Nobody spoke. Outside, a dog barked somewhere down the street. The TV kept playing some home renovation show in the living room to absolutely nobody. I suddenly felt incredibly tired. Not devastated. Not even angry exactly. Just embarrassed in this deep, private way I can't fully explain. Like I'd been volunteered into a conversation everyone else had already had without me. Ethan sat back down, more carefully this time. I was gonna come to you after opening night. I looked at him. What opening night? That silence answered faster than words did. Daniel looked down immediately. Ethan muttered, Jesus Christ, under his breath. I felt my face get hot. You already opened? It was small. You already opened the restaurant. It wasn't official. What does that even mean? Nobody was trying to exclude you. I laughed once, a sharp, ugly sound that didn't even sound like me. You told banks I was financing you before inviting me to the opening? That's not fair. No, I said quietly. Actually, I think it is. Ethan started pacing then. Fast, restless. I had vendors calling me every hour. Payroll issues, construction overruns. Everybody kept saying the funding would clear and then it didn't, and And somehow this became my responsibility?
No one said responsibility.
You told people I was paying.
We thought you would help.
The second he said we, he seemed to regret it, because even Daniel looked uncomfortable. I sat there watching both of them avoid looking directly at me for more than a few seconds at a time. That's the thing nobody tells you about betrayal when you're older. It's rarely dramatic. Mostly it's people trying to manage your reaction while protecting their own image. Daniel suddenly became very interested in stacking coasters that didn't need stacking. Ethan kept softening certain words halfway through sentences. Nobody wanted to sound like the bad guy. Even now. Especially now. A few minutes later, Daniel said quietly, "Maybe we should have handled this differently." Maybe. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I asked the question I probably should have asked first. Was there ever actually an investor? Ethan stopped pacing. Too late. Not long. Just enough. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. And that was it. That tiny hesitation. That tiny, horrible pause. I didn't even need details anymore. "Oh my God," I said. Ethan started talking quickly after that. "There was interest initially. How much debt are you in? It's temporary. How much?" He looked at Daniel again, not me. Daniel answered quietly. "More than they projected." "That is not a number." 90 now, Ethan muttered. 1,000? He nodded. I leaned back in the chair slowly. Nobody spoke for a while. The washing machine thudded once in the laundry room. Ethan picked at the label on his water bottle until it peeled halfway off. Then, weirdly, he smiled. Not happy, nervous. "I know this looks bad." That almost broke something in me. Looks bad. As if the problem was presentation. I stood up before I started crying in front of them, and honestly, I think both of them noticed at the same time because Daniel immediately moved toward me while Ethan suddenly got very quiet. "I'm not giving you the money," I said. Nobody argued right away, which meant somewhere underneath all this, they already knew. Ethan nodded once, like he was trying to look calm for an audience that no longer existed. "Okay." But then, he added, too quickly, "So what, you're just gonna let everything collapse?" There it was again. That assumption buried inside the question. That the final responsibility would naturally become mine once things got serious enough. I picked up my purse from the counter. "You opened a restaurant without inviting me," I said. "You told people I was financing it. You discussed my retirement money before discussing it with me. And now you're asking if I'm letting this happen?" Daniel said my name quietly, not to comfort me, to slow me down. I looked at him, and for the first time all evening, he looked embarrassed. Really embarrassed. Not stressed, not stuck in the middle. Ashamed. Which somehow hurt more than Ethan. Because Ethan still looked like someone trying to survive a bad business decision. Daniel looked like someone realizing too late what he'd helped normalize. I grabbed my keys. Behind me, Ethan said, softer this time, "I really thought you'd understand." I stopped near the doorway, but didn't turn around. And weirdly, that was the sentence that stayed with me afterward. Not the money, not the lying. That. Because I think he meant it. I think somewhere along the line, they had both quietly turned me into the kind of woman who absorbs consequences before other people have to feel them.